People who have pretended to fall asleep. What is something interesting you've overheard? I remember way back I couldn't sleep on Christmas Eve, being a little kid and all. So during this sleepless night where I guess my parents thought I was asleep, I heard my dad say, "Where do you think we should hide the new puppy?" That was pretty much at the top of my list, so naturally I was excited that I was getting a puppy. They talked for a good 20 minutes about the puppy, saying things like, "How should we keep it from barking before he finds him?" Before I dozed off. Next morning, I discovered that my parents knew I was awake and just decided to tease me. There was no puppy. I got a Game Boy though, so it wasn't too bad. Brilliant. Game Boys were the best. I remember how I valued AA batteries more than gold. So much so that I played all games with the sound off, thinking it conserved energy. Pretty sure not using the speakers did conserve energy, so well done, chap. 8-year-old future electrical engineer. I hope I have smart kids, not kids that ate bugs like me. I used to steal them out of the TV remotes, much to the chagrin of my parents. Sorry Dad, but I just have to beat the Elite Four. The trick was to put the dead ones in the remote. There was usually enough power to keep the remote going for a while even if it wouldn't power the Game Boy, then they would just replace the batteries in the remote. Rinse and repeat. How do we keep him from barking? They actually did get you a puppy, but unfortunately, I'm 20 and I still can't sleep on Christmas Eve. This is so cruel. The dog is still in a box to this day, they just forgot. When I was 6 or 7 I remember staying up late without the babysitter realizing whilst my parents were out. I remember when they came back home I was so worried about getting into trouble for still being awake that I pretended to be asleep. Mum came in the room asking whether or not I was awake. I stayed quiet and then she just sat down on my bed. She was quiet for what felt like forever but was probably only a couple of minutes before she bent over, stroked my hair, and kissed the top of my head whilst telling me how much she loved me and how much I meant to her, and then she tucked the covers around me tighter and left. To this day it's my favorite memory of her and one I've never shared with anyone. Edit. Thank you so much for the gold, never expected to receive any. It just proves what I've always known. I have an amazing mom. Also to everyone who told me to tell her, I will. Her birthday is coming up in a month, so I'm going to figure out how to word it in a birthday card. You should share that with your mom. They like hearing those kinds of things. If a situation ever comes up where it fits into the conversation I might bring it up. However, it's always been my most treasured memory, even though I know it'd make her happy to hear. It's something I like holding onto. The only reason I shared on Reddit is because it doesn't feel as real as sharing something in real life. Fair enough. Might also be some good ammo if she's ever having a really hard time. My mother did that to me for years. I have horrific anxiety, and when I was in high school I let slip that I tended not to be able to sleep when they didn't come home when they said they would. Like, say 11, and they'd be home at 11:30 to 12 o'clock. So even into high school, she would come in to check if I was asleep. If she thought I was, she would close the door. If I wasn't, she would rub my back and tell me she loved me before going to bed. I'm also a girl, if that makes this easier, better for some people. I dunno, a mother's love is the best thing to witness firsthand. Aw man. My parents used to tuck me in when I was small, and basically through high school my mom would wake me up by coming in and sitting on my bed and rubbing my back, waking me gently. Thanks for reminding me that even though my parents were functional alcoholics, they did a lot of stuff right. Was spending the night at a friend's house. I'm a guy, she's a girl. Brought my friend over because we were out partying. We all slept in the same room. I was laying on the floor near my friend when I heard my friend Andrea call my name. Wanting to sleep, I ignored her not moving, to which she responded, "Okay, Andy, I think he's asleep, come here." About 5 minutes later I hear the bed squeaking and her soft moans. One of them sneezed about 15 minutes into it, in which I responded, "Bless you." They immediately stopped. 10 out of 10 would do again. Savage. I never knew how badly I wanted to do this until now. Must have been about 16, 17-ish, was staying at a friend's house who was with his girlfriend. He was the first in our circle to have sex and he freaking loved to brag about it. How much of a natural he was, how surprised his girlfriend was that she was his first, all that cliché bollocks. We all just laughed, let him have his fun, and got on with it. Anyway, back to being at his place with her. I go and crash early on the floor of their room in a kick-ass little blanket pile with her dog. It was great. I was just getting bored of him rampantly flirting at her like a brain-damaged peacock. So, about a half hour later, they come in, and of course they start doing it. I honestly think they forgot I was there or something. I hear very loud kissing, a few Batman grunts, a bit of whimpering. They had started and finished in less than a minute. So I'm lying, curled up in the corner of their room under blankets and a dog, listening to my friend cry in shame while his girlfriend was finishing herself off. That was a great night. Should have gotten up and shown him how it's done right. Should have popped his head up out of the blankets. Need a hand? Tag me in, bro. Looks like she needs some HULKAMANIA. Take her to Pound Town, brother. When I was a kid, my mom would make my brother and me take naps for like 45 minutes. I pretended like I was sleeping, and I heard my mom talking on the phone to my grandma. During the conversation, I assume my grandma asked what my brother and I were up to, because she said Imhully's brother is sleeping, and Imhully is pretending to be asleep. She said she knew I was faking because my mouth was closed, and whenever I'm actually asleep my mouth is slightly open. Ever since that day, whenever I'm pretending to be asleep for whatever reason, I keep my mouth slightly open. Thanks for the tip, Mom. Your mom only told you that to know when you're faking your sleep. You got. Or because she really didn't care whether or not he was actually asleep, she just wanted 45 minutes of silence. As a parent, can confirm. I don't care if they never sleep, so long as they're quiet and leave me alone for a while. As a parent of 4, the eldest being 11, this is the greatest tool in parenting. Edit. Thanks for all the PMs, everyone. Yes, it still works. No, my wife and I are not Catholic. We shouldn't have kids at all, seeing as she is infertile. Guess I have super swimmers. From another user. My mom told us she knew when we were sleeping because of the beeping noise we made. When we tried to fake sleep we'd go, beep beep beep. Lol, that's gold. Weekend retreat at church camp, my buddy and another friend's girl and I ended up in a room with 2 bunk beds. We were chilling when I realized that I was the third wheel, so I powered down. First there were tests to see if I was awake, then she climbed to his top bunk, then kissing, then her moaning, then her telling him he should wash his hand. I got bored and did some fake sleep talking. They laughed and continued, but they called it a night without rounding home. She left, and I figured it was best to not give high fives till the next day. I don't know why I waited until we were at his house, maybe she rode back with us. Still, it was my first time playing Super Nintendo, and as he handed me the controller that would introduce me to Yoshi, I asked him, "You did wash your hands, right?" He was so thrilled to get to talk to someone about it. Did he though? He did. Phew. This drumass knows that we know he's awake, right? That's when you fake snore, you need to sell it, the more they say it, the louder you get. Don't forget the breathing. Most people breath slow and deep while sleeping. Shallow breaths gives it away, so does smiling when they talk about you. I kind of hope it was your parents saying this. No, it was my first grade classmates. I'm only friends with him because I feel sorry for him. Edit. For those wondering what I did afterwards, I played it cool for the rest of the night and then just never talked to him again. I only upvoted you because I feel sorry for you. Sad smiley. It's probably because you put noses in your smiley faces. Well, how else is he going to smell the loneliness? That is awful. I struggle with some major insecurities, and this is my worst nightmare. I always wonder if this is the case with anyone who is nice to me. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that because I have no friends. When I was 8, on Christmas Eve I overheard Santa eating the cookies and drinking the milk. Later he opened the fridge and ate a large chunk of a cake and ran around the living room smearing the cake everywhere. Santa was our dog. This for some reason caught me off guard. Was not expecting the dog. No one ever expects the dog. That's how they get away with it. No one ever expects the canine inquisition. At a sleepover, do you think he's circumcised or not? Also at the sleepover, nah, I checked, it's too small. I'm a grower. Who said that? So, are you or aren't you? When I attempted suicide at 13, I pretended to be asleep in my hospital bed. My parents actually believed I was, and I heard my mom say to my dad, first my brother, now her. What am I doing wrong? It broke my heart because she is a wonderful mother and always had been. We just have bad genetics when it comes to mental illness in my family. I'll never forget those words, and I'm constantly trying to prove to her the wonderful job she's done. One positive thing to have a family where a lot of them have a mental illness. You got people that can understand how you feel and maybe understand your behavior. Unless you live in a family where no one wants to admit anything is wrong. Depression runs in my family on both sides, yet the only people willing to admit that they are depressed and seek help are my sister and I. It's extremely frustrating. Are you my sister? This is us. Tried to kill myself at 20. I will never forget my grandparents visiting me in the hospital a few hours later. Grandpa looked at me and said, "You gave us a scare there. But I'm glad you're still here." I told him how sorry I was for putting them through the whole thing. The pure look of defeat on his face. Never again. Night after drinking with friends, I wasn't really pretending, more trying to keep my head from spinning. I overhear my buddy say to my other friend, "I wonder how easy it is to smother someone to death." I'd have said something about keeping one eye open when you sleep for that exact reason. But you were having the spins. That's a valid reason to not fire off a response. Was in this messed up relationship with my ex-husband when I was pregnant with my second kid. We had a roommate, female, but we would all have sex with each other because we were young and free-spirited or something. Anyway, I pretended to be asleep one night because I didn't feel like having sex that night and didn't want to turn anybody down or make up an excuse. My ex-husband and the roommate got to talking in the next room. The bedroom door was open so I could hear them pretty clearly, and she asked him why he married me anyway. His response, "I just didn't know what else to do at that point." Seemed like the next logical step, and I took it. I honestly wish I hadn't done it, and I wish I was single right now living life, but now I have this freaking family and I'm not sure how I'm gonna get out. Hit me real hard. Settled and is now bogged down with a polyamorous relationship. When you put it that way, it makes me cringe more. Seems like the stereotypical male dream. No, it's really not. The dream is two women in bed at the same time, but they leave. In this scenario they moved in. Oh, what did you do? Went along like I didn't hear it. Things were steadily declining at that point anyway. He started hitting me towards the end of that pregnancy and left us before the baby was born. He sounds like a delight. A French girl I met in a hostel came in to where I was sleeping and just sat there. I had just cut it off with her, so I didn't want to deal with her, so I pretended to be asleep for a few minutes. She just mumbled random things. She was pretty drunk. Finally, what got me up was when, in the cutest French accent, she told me she was going to set me on fire in my sleep. I should have mentioned that, yes, I did sleep with her again after that. Sometimes you gotta do messed up things to stay not on fire. Honestly, that's really hot. You were in France, you said? It almost got a lot hotter, by the sounds of things. I was drunk at a party and couldn't fathom the world, so I lay down, closed my eyes in a dark room. I heard two of my friends come in. One came over to me and poked me in the ribs, then said, "It's fine, he's asleep." Then proceed to talk about how both of them were cheating on their boyfriends and who at the party they wanted to frack. Not you, apparently. Surprising I was included on the list. After they left, I spent the next 10 minutes quietly laughing. Did you go for it? He was dying, man. That is a terrible superpower. My parents talking dirty while they were doing it. Edit. I was around 6 to 8 years old. This is the stuff of nightmares. Worst part is they saw they had woken me up and I had to pretend to sleep again. My friend said I'm a nice guy. Smiley face. Thank you, man. May you rest in peace. That last part's a little depressing. Yeah. Passed away due to liver failure or something. Or something? How do you not know? He said you were nice. I remember it. No. He collapsed after finishing a marathon. Went into coma for days. After that passed away. I also have another friend who passed away a couple of months before he passed away. I just afraid that I will mix those two. A screaming match involving the line, "I want you to say one nice thing about my kids," 1. Followed by silence and doors slamming. They have amazing tolerance. What does that even mean? Well, they haven't murdered you yet. Those kids have the tolerance of saints. I've been feeding them increasing amounts of amphetamines. It's amazing how they can still fall asleep. A long high-pitched fart followed by a whispered cheese. Been holding that for hours. Middle school sleepover lol. This is obviously fake. Everyone knows the ones that people hold in for hours are about 10 liters of low-frequency ground rumbling farts. Unless it's the one where it goes back up in the stomach and then back to your sphincter and back again until it finally comes. It's got so much back pressure and forward pressure build up from being sucked back up and pushed back down the ass tube that it comes out silent but holding hot, thick and musty air and makes a whoosh sound. Whoa, those ones feel the best. What the frack? He is a very respected fartologist trying to share his knowledge. Don't be rude. I was less than 3 feet away as one of my best friends took a 19-year-old's virginity. We traveled from the Bay to LA to attend a rave with some girls we met at EDC a few months prior. After all the partying took place, one buddy took the older sister to his car, and my other buddy started making moves on the younger sister. I was sleeping on the floor and was petrified because I felt like if I moved, it would kill his game. So I sat through the most awkward sexual experience of my life to help him get laid. It was short and sporadic, but they both seemed to enjoy it, I think, so I think I made the right decision pretending to be asleep on the floor as they bunny humped on the bed literally 2.5 feet from me. The realest bro ever award goes to. I was pretending to be asleep in a hostel dorm room because I didn't want to deal with others. Girl and a guy started fraking in the bed across from me. She was on top and kind of with yay horsey, yay, we. Was the guy's name Jared? My mom told a friend via telephone. I thought my husband was cheating, so now I do it too. I still don't know what to do. Edit. My father has not cheated and it's proven. My mom is just stupid, they're getting divorced now. Could they be talking about their diets? Yay diet of D 24/7. 2 people fraking and talking trash about me. I was sleeping without a shirt. My dad told my mom he has a nice build. I hope they didn't notice me smile. PC build right? Every time I've tried it I ended up falling asleep for real. Isn't that what we all do every night? Close our eyes and pretend to sleep? Didn't necessarily overhear anything, but I pretended to fall asleep when I was about 12 because I heard someone coming into the room that my younger sister and I shared and thought it was my mom who would yell at me for being on my iPod at 2 a.m. Turns out it was a robber with a crowbar. He just peeked into the room and went out when he saw us in there. Really glad I didn't realize until the next morning who it was. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I'd realized some strange man was in my room at 2 a.m. Edit. The only reason I know why he had a crowbar was because my dad told me. The police knew he took one to all the houses he robbed. He and his sister worked together serial robbing houses around our area, and I don't know how they found out or anything. I was 12, this was 6 years ago. I am just going off what my dad told me, and I am pretty sure he wouldn't lie to me about that for no reason. Did he rob you of your ability to make capital letters? So what happened? Did he take anything? Was he caught? Tell me more. Downloadable content. Went to a college party. It was late, so I actually fell asleep. Woke up a few minutes later and an orgy was happening, so I closed my eyes and hoped I looked asleep. Did not get disturbed. Aw, weren't invited bro, bad luck. I heard my roommate on a cruise ship getting viciously and sloppily fingerbanged for over an hour while the guy kept saying to her to, guess how many fingers are in you now? Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? Pretended to be asleep at a sleepover, heard my supposed friends planning to throw my clothes in the tree. Frack middle school. That's nothing. We filled my friend's sleeping bag with uncooked hot dogs. Of course he woke up and resisted, but we were stronger. Your uncooked hot dogs? This will probably get buried, but here goes. One night during high school, my friend and I got invited to a party. I didn't drive back then, so my friend picked me up. All went well on our way to the party. On the way back, however, he got pulled over. As we were pulling to the side of the road, I told him that I was gonna pretend to be sleeping since I was the passenger. Anyway, I hear the cop get out of his cop car, walk towards our car, stops at the window but doesn't say anything. I can feel the brightness of his flashlight, but I don't hear him or my friend say anything. After about what seemed like an eternity, I decide to open my eyes to see what's going on. That's when I see my friend, the guy who is driving, is pretending like he is sleeping too. Edit. So a few of you nice folks want to know what happened after I woke up. Not really anything excited, which is why I left it out initially. No high-speed chases or shootout with the cops, just 2 dumb kids who were terrified of getting a ticket. So after my initial internal shock, the cop, who was obviously messing with us, apologized for waking us up and asked us to step out of the car. He never said, but I'm sure he suspected us of being under the influence, which we weren't. My friend and I were just being dumb kids, him more so than me obviously. We fully cooperated, and since we weren't out past curfew, we were soon on our way. The reason the cops pulled us over? My friend's car had a busted taillight. I asked him what did he hope to accomplish by pretending to be sleep driving, to which he replied that he thought I had a smart idea and he should do what I did. He'll probably be glad to know that his most embarrassing moment is now my highest rated comment on Reddit. Did the roofies work? That's terrifying. I hate you. Quietly, passionately, by my husband. We are now separated and don't speak. Edit. While my husband was no angel, I have to say that he was the lesser of two evils in our marriage. Don't feel too bad for me, I deserved it. Not trying to spread the hate, but it's so nice when people understand their own shortcomings and will admit to them. Good for you. My best friend freaking the girl we were supposed to be having a threesome with, but I was like a young scared 16-yo. Jerry. Deletes Reddit account. That would suck, you would lose your cool username. I was dozing off in my bed with my girlfriend at the time when I heard her confess her love for me. She was pretty hammered, but she went into intricate detail about how she feels respected, enjoys the sex, and sees a serious future with me. The next morning I got yelled at for not cuddling and that it was a major issue. I don't think she even knew of her confession. Has she ever called you a football head, by any chance? Lying in bed when I was a little girl and my stepdad, who must have been in there for half an hour, jumped out of the airing cupboard in the dark, roaring, and terrified me. Still hate people jumping out on me, suddenly revealing themselves. That was not where I thought that was going. We're thankful it didn't go there. My dad did this to me and my sisters. Right after we saw King Kong for the first time. And he was wearing a gorilla mask. My mom did this once when a friend of her father came round to visit. She was tired and pretended to fall asleep on the sofa, 'cause she didn't want to be spoken to. Her father and his friend proceed to talk about the war. This is World War II and they're Polish. This friend was sent to the border between Poland and Ukraine, and some villages were attacked by neighboring Ukrainians for some reason I'm still not sure about. He said they killed people by sawing them in half, and loads of other gruesome things she wouldn't tell me. Edit. Thank you so much for the information. I was always curious about what happened but never wanted to ask. World War II really showed a dark side to humanity, and I think a lot of the atrocities that happened in Eastern Europe should be remembered. Please remember incidents like this so that no one needs to suffer like that again. When I was in high school, I was practically a loner. Before high school I lived in Central Florida and didn't understand friendships and romantic relationships because of constant middle school bullies lying and messing with me and stuff. Anyways, I moved from big a city in Central Florida to a small town in Redwoods, California. I moved when I was in 8th grade, and I just kept to myself knowing that I'll probably move again because of my dad's job, so I thought there was no point in making friends. I was always keeping to myself and minding my own business, and I had a lot of sad thoughts, and I felt that, like in middle school, if someone learned of my sad feelings then they would make fun of me. So I had to act like I'm not sad. Since I wasn't good at socializing, and I realized one of the easiest ways to be in a good mood was to hold my classroom's door open. I know it was a nice gesture, so I just did it, and I thought being nice meant being in a good mood, so I held a door open every time. So every morning I would always hold open my first period door open. I literally just stood there and held the door open, sometimes sit but mostly stood there. You get the occasional thank you also, and I would just nod my head and not say anything. After a while in my head I would say, it's working, no one will know that I'm feeling sad, so to make it more that I'm not sad and make it look like I'm happy by doing more nice gestures. I started picking up trash if someone littered and threw it away. I picked up a pencil when someone dropped it. If someone was sitting alone I would sit next them, although I wouldn't say much, and I would say good morning name to everyone in my first period. In my mind it was foolproof, no one will know I'm sad, and oddly enough I didn't get bullied. Fast forward to high school. Well, surprise, surprise, there were bullies. I was made fun of because I was Asian on my bus rides home. I was being pushed around in the hallways, etc. However, I kept on doing my gestures because, I do not want people to know I'm sad. Even though I did break down crying once on my bus. Another fast forward to sophomore year. Every morning I would always hold open the door to my high school's 0 period. Which was really early in the morning, and I would almost always be the first one there. I was sitting there with my eyes closed to rest a bit, and I overheard some kid was making fun of me and stuff. Typical. Then I overheard someone defending me. Saying I'm a nice kid and stuff. But it wasn't just one person, but multiple people. They were talking about how dedicated I am on being nice to people. Holding the door open, picking up trash, picking up dropped pencils, sitting next to the lonely kids, etc. Soon after I started noticing people's kindness towards me. One moment was when this one bully held me to the ground when there was no one around. He was telling me to put up a fight and saying, "Show me how Asian people fight." Of course, knowing about expulsion, I refused to fight and let him have his way. Then out of nowhere, two gangster-looking kids shoved the bully off of me and told the bully off and not to mess with me. They were telling me how they got my back and stuff. To myself, I thought that was odd. Soon the days after, I started noticing practically every clique was defending me. On my bus ride, a couple of country kids who was telling their country friend to apologize to me for always making fun of me being Asian. Some goth-looking kids were wondering if I was alright and that I should smile some more since I had a great smile. I even realized that it was a bunch of football players that one morning when I was pretending to be asleep that defended me. Not long after, I started smiling more, saying hello to everyone I knew the name of in the hallway, which was a lot apparently, joined community involving clubs. Heck, I was even nominated for the sophomore class homecoming king. I ended up telling people not to because I wasn't good in front of crowds. I ended up moving like predicted by the end of my sophomore year, but when I casually mentioned it in my English class, everyone stopped talking and looked in disbelief. Looking back, it was that moment that I realized for the first time that I truly mattered to people, and I didn't think as much sad thoughts since. TLDR was always sad, held the door open every morning to pretend I wasn't, ended overhearing people defending since I was bullied, life changed. Guess I need to fire that guy. When I was about 13 or 14, not that long ago, I overheard my parents talk about my dog, Chowder. I was in the living room half passed out from exhaustion while they were in the dining area. Chowder was in the vet for a couple of days because of something called distemper. I just thought that after a few days, he'd get better and go back home and be the normal dog he would be. I was wrong. I lay motionless on the sofa because I was lazy to get up. I accidentally heard Mom crying. I heard words like, "What will we tell her?" and "She can't know this before her exams, she might not do well." By this time, I got really curious, so I tried my best to stay awake while staying in the uncomfortable position that I was in. A few other medical terms passed and I hear the word, euthanize. I knew what that meant and it took me a few seconds to put the pieces together. I cried the whole night and they found out in the morning. So there, not really interesting, just heartbreaking. I've heard my dad listening to porn through the speakers when I was a kid, maybe 7 or 8. I couldn't even comprehend what I heard and fell asleep shortly thereafter. You gotta be younger than me, because when I caught my dad looking at porn, the pic was probably loaded 75% on the screen, and my dad was panting like a dog. I mean, Santa is a dog, why not your dad? Not me, but once during a sleepover in middle school, this girl pretended to sleep to try and catch us saying bad things about her. We never did, we really liked her, but we did say, "I wish Catherine was still awake," at which point she snapped awake and was all, "Ha. You don't really love me." Middle schoolers are weird creatures. Sir, I can't just go away. I'm the police. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.